Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
And I'm Spencer.
And this is Board Game Rundown, and today we're going to review The Fog, Escape from Paradise. I'm not going to butcher this name, but I will say we got this from Grand Gamers Guild.
Yes. I was going to say hearts and kisses and hearts and hugs.
Yeah, a couple of those things. This game plays 1 to 6 players. It says ages 10 and up, and then you can, depending on the board size you're playing, it will vary in your time spent with the game, but it can be as fast as 45 minutes, and I can see that if everybody's familiar with the game, and up to 2 hours if you're playing with like the max player count and on a much larger board, and all that good stuff. So in this game, I kind of think of it as like the sequel to Spirit Island, even though it has nothing to do with it, right? Because in Spirit Island, the spirits are trying to push everybody off of the island, right? The colonizers and everything. And so this one is sort of like everybody, this wall of fog is moving, and all the villagers, the last villagers and everything, people are on this island, they're on this last beach, and they're rushing to get to the boats, and this wall of fog is moving across them, and it's devouring them. Yeah, so, you know, they die horrible death with big, sharp, pointy teeth.
Yeah, it's fog.
I don't know. Either way, it's negative points.
It's negative points. It's bad.
And the really cool thing about this game, other than the theme, which I loved, is this is sort of a racing game. And you've got, so everybody's going to have like 7 movement points in the version we played. There are other variations, but let's just, for simplicity's sake, 7 movement points, and you can spend them you're spending them to move your people up the beach and get onto the boats. Well, here's the problem: there's a lot of people on this beach, and there's people in the way. These villagers, they will have extra abilities, special abilities, so they can all basically do these moves, and they cost what they cost. But some people specialize, and they make them a little bit cheaper to do. So just some of the moves, there's a run. You just move into an adjacent empty space for 1 movement point. Awesome. There's pushing, which normally costs 3. You can push up to 2 villagers ahead of you and move your guy 1 space. But then they have to move, and they have to have a valid place to go. Then there's the like slide or squeeze move. It's the 2 circles with the arrow through it, and now you can slide between 2 people or an obstacle and a person,
Or even the forest.
Slide between, straightforward. That costs 4 movement normally. And then there is the swap, which is so mean. So you, for 3 movement points, you basically switch places with a person. Whoop. And now they're further back, and you're closer to where you're trying to go. There is a leaping, so you're just gonna hop right over somebody. Think like checkers. Ding. That costs 3 points. There is the crossing the terrain, so you can enter into a space with a terrain for 4 movement, and then you're gonna pop out on one side of that terrain. So if this wasn't here and you went up here, you could literally pop out on any of those sides. But you're always moving forward, I guess.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it. The last one that is like the specialized one, there's 2 technically, is if they've got a +1, after they have been activated and they do a move, they get 1 extra movement space for free if there's a valid place for them to move. Pretty straightforward. And then there might be, I don't think we had any of them in the game we played, but we did. There's a guy with a 3 on there. That just makes either the squeeze or the crossing the terrain 1 cheaper for them. But they have these awesome player aids right here. They kind of have just iconography to show you what all of the different things do. Once you get onto the shore and onto the boats, the movement rules are way more simple, but they do change a little bit. And then the available movements for you are indicated on your board, and if they have a different point value, it tells you the different movement point value. And what we're trying to do is there's different levels. So how far up on the boat you have your person. Great, awesome. You're going to score points. You're going to score points for having people from the same color tribe on the correct color boat. That's worth 4 points each, right? So the red guys are on the red boats. Amazing, great. You're getting extra points just for doing that. You will see that there's icons on the boats, and they match the villagers, so you can lock into that space, and that's going to give you preparation tokens. And they start at 6 and they go down. And so once you get one of those, you're going to put it in front of you, flip it face down. So there's like some extra points at the end of the game. And then anybody that is swallowed by the fog, you just flip that token over, you leave it. There's an indicator of how many negative points that is worth on the side there. So you just leave them there because this guy just slides over the top as it eats everybody. It's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. That's basically the game.
The turns are very unique.
Yeah, the turn tracker is awesome. It's very straightforward. It's just like a flow chart. And so you take your action. Then when you pass a little arrow there with that cube, the fog marker, you just slide that fog cube down one. And what's really crazy is you get like 4 rounds where you're going to pass that fog marker and nothing is going to happen. But then when that sucker gets moving, it is moving.
And it speeds up.
And it speeds up and it starts skipping space or encompassing multiple spaces. And then the other thing is when it hits the end up here, that little boat arrow, that's the boat's launch. And that tells you it's the end of the game. Yep. So if you don't, anybody you don't have on the boats, or even on the sides of the boats, they're going to be negative points. Guys on the piers, like they're considered to be clinging to the sides of the boats. They don't get you any points, but they don't get you negative points. Yep. So that's nice, right? That's basically the game. There's the iconography is really good, and once you grasp that, this game goes pretty fast. It's pretty smooth, and we always appreciate games with really good iconography.
Yes.
I guess let's. We are looking at a deluxe edition, so it's got the cool 3D terrain and stuff.
Very nice terrain, yeah.
But let's just talk about sort of the gameplay and our experience with it, and we'll just start with Bob.
Yeah, this was more fun than I thought it was going to be. Like, we're all bunched up here and we're trying to get out of here. This turn structure thing I thought was super unique. Like, because the way that it makes you flow and take turns, you're not just kind of going around and around. It's like I went, Tim went, Spencer went, and then Spencer went again, and then I went, Tim went, then Tim goes again, and then Spencer, and then me, and then back to me, and then we're each still getting a turn before the fog thing would move, and like that's just a really unique way to do turn order without having to have like a first player marker each time and remembering when the cube's going to move at the right time, And
it's really nice because you can go, okay, that fog wall isn't going to move. Or it'll only move one time until my next turn, so I can plan a little bit around that.
Helps you visualize that a lot.
Yeah, it gives you a very good visual.
Mm-hmm. These rings worked really well. Like sometimes, you get these little pieces and you try to put them in a ring and they got to snap in there really hard and it kind of beats up the edges of them. But there's no problem getting the rings in and out. My biggest beef, setting it up, the reds and the greens were really hard for me to tell apart. If this was my copy of the game, I would probably be writing little R's and G's on the people just so that I'd be able to tell them apart. That was really unfortunate. So we kind of just took 2 of them and piled them up, like one of the ones we weren't using, so that way we knew the double stacked ones were red, so I didn't have to keep asking. So that was kind of a bummer. The other bits are super nice, like those deluxe components. Those are beautiful. These are very similar to those, and when we were setting up, we did have a hard time kind of telling them.
It took us a minute to kind of figure out, like,
to suss out the difference there. But then once we did, it's not a big deal, and it made sense because these are double-sided. But it took us a while because they're the same shape, a similar color. So that took us a little bit of a minute. But then, having these player aids with you to tell you like what your moves can do. Everybody can do these moves. It costs this much, but if you have a specialty, it's going to be cheaper for them to do that move. So you're kind of looking to try to use your specialty moves more often to try to do these cool maneuvers without having to pay the full price for them. But it was, man, and I tell you what, that it does really ramp up with the fog before you know it starts moving. And I lost a guy like right away. Like, shoot, I should have at least moved in one spot, and I didn't do it, but. Thankfully, it didn't end up hurting the score too much for me, and I managed to pull it out because I was holding everybody else back at the end. So, yeah, that worked out pretty good.
You were.
But it was fun.
Spencer.
Well, I like that this is mostly just strategy. There's very little randomness. In fact, all the randomness is setting up the board at the beginning, and you draft to see. Starting from the end, you're drafting to see who gets which villager, and that is such an important part of the game right there, drafting, because that can make or break the game.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to strategize through the entire thing, and I really like those kinds of games. And these moves are varied enough that you can throw out some really interesting little combos without even realizing it. Pushing someone that lets you jump someone else and you swap. The swapping, you got to remember you can do that. It's important.
Yeah.
It's just expensive.
If you're in the water, it's expensive.
Yeah. But because it's so powerful.
Right.
You literally throwing
toss
somebody
back
further
behind
back.
you. Yeah.
At one point, I swapped 2 people and threw your guy into the fog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim's like, Yeah, remember that.
Yeah, was not super excited about that.
I think it worked out pretty good.
It didn't matter much in the end anyway.
It did. This is minus 4 points.
No, but
It did to Bob.
It did. So thank you. I do appreciate that.
Ooh,
Yeah, so it did
that
matter.
would have been a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker was actually pretty interesting when I looked at it. It was, so obviously points, whoever lost the fewest number of villagers here, and then whoever rescued the most commoners, which are the little girl with pigtails. And after that, you share the victory. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, the 7 points, that's
For movement.
that's pretty good. And I really like how, as it speeds up, the movement rules over here make it much simpler. Your swapping is now only 1. So you can choose, and you don't have to move into an empty spot. You just have to end your turn in an empty spot. So you can just jump over a bunch of people, or you can swap them out,
While you're on the
however
ladder,
it
yeah.
works. Yeah, but only when you're
Once
on
you're
the
shore
shoreline or on
in
the pier.
Yeah.
No, I really liked the strategy behind this game. It's my kind of game.
I like how you they have assigned seating, so if you get there, you get the placement bonus. But you can take any seat. But if somebody comes and you're in their seat, they get to kick you out of the seat and say you got to move somewhere else.
They can swap you out.
Yeah, swap you out. So I thought that was pretty. That was pretty cool.
In fact, at the end, that made a big difference because I noticed I can take these seats, but the people who swap them out are all right here, and I'm like, and I don't get another turn.
Yeah, this was one of those games where the theme immediately drew me in. I thought the art style and everything looked really good, and then the gameplay did not disappoint. Honestly, the worst part is, as we were setting up, I immediately had a feeling that this was going to be a problem for Bob. Thankfully, Spencer had a great suggestion on how to
Doubling them up.
how to get us through the game. So thank you for that. But at higher player counts, if we didn't have access to those bits, that could be a
That'd be
real
hard.
problem.
Yeah.
There's a modular aspect to the board, so you can play with different variations and player counts. You can flip those over. There's an A side and a B side, and then when you're playing at the higher levels, there's more boats.
Yeah, it widens out.
And there's more colors of the tribes. And
New seats.
yeah, you just have a bigger beach.
Oh my goodness,
Wow.
that's a lot bigger.
That's why the
Holy
game will take a
cow.
lot
A lot
longer,
more
Yeah,
right? So
dude, chaos.
massive.
I can see why it takes 2 hours.
Massive stuff
Oh my
going
gosh.
on here, right? So lots going on. You can play,
That's
and
why
you
they-
can choose.
a lot more fog tiles. That's why.
but you can play 3 players on this.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be
So
intense.
lots of really cool things. And
Yeah.
again, the draft aspect, really neat, really unique. Like what a fun twist to
Right.
sort of put on the game. Even when laying out the tiles on the board, it gives you a really good a way of how you distribute the stuff, right? So there's these numbers with a line in between them right here on the sides. So 0 and 0 means 0 empty hexes and 0 terrain,
Obstacles, yeah.
right? So boom. So you got to fill that whole row. This is 0 terrain, 1 empty hex. So you have to leave an empty hex when you're seeding the board, and you're just seeding it randomly. You just mix up all the
bits.
that you're using, and you put them out. And it was really cool. It was really cool because I was finishing up some things. The guys were populating the board, and we were able to rock and roll. And again, once you understand the movement, this game is very straightforward, very easy. Also, a thing we only used it once, and it was mostly just a tease, Spencer. But they do give you sand timers, right? So if somebody's taking too long, be like, "Hey, bro,
He's the only one who's
Fog's coming. Fog's coming. Let's wrap
Fog's
it up.
coming, let's go."
Yeah, this game it will definitely be prone to someone who has analysis paralysis, but at the same time, if you want to play this like a chess game without a time limit, this could become extremely strategic.
Yeah, I think so. But I think
I like the
also
time pressure.
I think the pressure, just because I don't always
Speed
want to
chess
play
is a
games
thing.
where you have to make optimal moves,
Just
because
go.
also this represents the chaos,
impending doom.
the
Yeah,
chaos of what's
yes.
happening.
That's
Right?
true.
Yes.
That's true.
But yeah, I
just
just
hear the screams.
Yes. that's what it is. Every grain of sand is another scream in your head. Ah, somebody else is consumed by the fog.
but this was really fun. And again, when drafting, you're looking at the color. What boat are they trying to get to? You're
What
looking
abilities
at
they
their
have.
special ability, and you're also, because of the locations, right? So green's in the middle. Green's pretty safe to draft wherever. But there was a bunch of red dudes on this side, and they got to get all the way over here. And it may not seem like a lot on this tiny board, but A, that board's full. And B, that's really far as you start going and you realize the economy of the game with the movement points and everything. And I really appreciated just, you got your movement tracker and this is what everybody does,
Yeah. And I noticed at one point, this side of the board was almost all full, and all I had was blue. And I'm like, I can't get over there without just using all of my points swapping.
Yeah.
I think that cost me a lot of points.
Yeah. And it's tough, right? Because also you're like, man, I really hope that they move.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping by the next time I move, some of these people have cleared out because I need to start moving those guys. And there was people, and legitimately, like an interesting part of the strategy is like, okay, this guy's not going to make it on the boat, but I can move him up as far as possible to make him as
less
least negative points as possible,
absolutely.
right? And it's worth the investment, right? Because you can math out some of the point swings within a reasonable amount of time. Like, is it worth it? Because we also, I mean, even at the very end, my last move, it was like, if I
could
do this
or do that.
it's worth,
5.
it could be worth 7 points, but I'd lose 2 points, so it'd be worth 5, or I just do this. One guy will be 0 points, but the other dude's going to get me 5 points.
Or 6 points.
Or 6 points.
Right, so it's still better to do
So
that.
it's still better, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it was a 2, it was actually a 2 and a 4
2 and
or
a
something.
4 instead of just,
So it worked,
7 and
it was
minus
really
2.
interesting. And I appreciated that. Again, I love the theme. I love how straightforward this game is once you get it rolling. It is I don't want to say fiddly to set up, but the board prep takes a minute.
Yep.
Not the end of the world.
Yep.
I mean, it is the end of the world, at least on this island. But, I don't have a ton of negatives. The biggest negative for me was just knowing that the color thing is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
I think if Bob is playing and we're playing at a player count that allows us to mitigate that the way we did, then that's what we're going to do. I mean, hell, we might even just do the R's and G's on them because Bob's in my game group. We're going to play this, if we're teaching it, we're playing it with other people. This, spoiler alert, this is a game I would like to play again and try out some of the other varieties and stuff. So it's probably just worth modifying because we will need to.
How was the rulebook?
It wasn't bad. It's pretty straightforward. There was like 1 or 2 things where we were just trying. It just took us a minute to actually identify what they were
Certain
talking
pieces,
about.
Yeah, because they were the same shape. Like I think these could have been different shapes, and that could have eliminated a whole lot of confusion.
But honestly, not bad. Lots of great examples. Everything's in a pretty linear, way. None of the critical rules are hidden in different areas,
right?
Or
There's
anything
so many
like that.
optional ways to play in the book.
Yeah. So really, honestly, this is basically like the first couple of pages is the regular way to play, and then the end of the book is all of the solo play and variants and different kinds of things you can do. And to me, it will be worth exploring.
No, definitely.
And especially now, I've got a really good grasp of the game, so it's going to also make the setup and the teach a lot easier. I think it's really going to be your hurdle the first time, and then even coming back to it, you probably just take a little refresher. Oh yeah, but once you start to grok how 1 or 2 of the moves work, all of them click into place. So I really appreciated that. Anything else before we go on to scoring?
I think so.
All right, so the board game rundown. We're going to score this game. Spencer, how do we score games here?
We are all going to give this a rating between 1 and 10. You do use 0.5s. We will average them together, and that will be our score for things like BGG and stuff like that.
Yes, yes. So, Bob.
Yes.
Between 1 and 10. The Fog. Escape from Paradise.
I would like to give it a 7.5, but because of the color issue, I'm going to give it a 7. But this is a game that I would like to have. I'd like to pull it out and play it. But it's anytime I have to modify a game to make it playable for me.
That's a legit half-point deduction, right?
Yep. Yep. So it'll be a 7 for me.
Spencer.
It's the kind of strategy game that I really like, and it's unique enough. I am giving this one an 8.
Yeah. I'm kind of right with you guys. I think this is an 8.5 for me. I love the theme. Again, I love the look and the vibe. All of that came together into a really satisfying gameplay. I didn't win, but I came really close.
You did. It was very close.
And I appreciate the chaos. I thought that was fun too. So we average.
So average them together, 7.8. It's pretty good.
Bing. Yeah, that's solid, man. That's solid. And we all had a good time.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, even with the color issues. But you know what, Bob? We're going to just modify this bad boy.
Sweet.
And then it will make it just playable all the time without issue.
Yep. That's
So
fine by me.
easy enough. It's just 10 minutes with a pen
Right.
going
Yep.
through it
I have a Sharpie just for that.
and doing that. So perfect. Well, yeah, we all had a really good time with this. Really glad we got it to the table. And if any of this sounds good to you, I just recommend it. But also, if you like this video, found it useful, please consider liking, subscribing, doing all those things. We do have a Discord. We've got an Instagram. We've got a Facebook page. We do a live stream every Wednesday with at least 2 of us. Sometimes 3, maybe more often. 3 going forward. We also have tons of guests, all kinds of stuff. And then Spencer, you look like you got something you want to say.
I have written a book. You can check it out at my website, spencerhickson.com. I'll link below. And I'm going to be starting Kickstarter for another one pretty soon, so keep your eyes open.
There you go.
Nice.
And even if you're watching this video way after those books are out, just
They'll still
find
be available.
Spencer and buy those books. Awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching. For the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
That was Bob.
Spencer.
We'll see you next time.
If you can say the title's only